Hey gang, welcome back to the channel. Or if this is your first time joining us, my name is Nicky V. I'm a studio musician here in Nashville, so I play guitar on people's records. I also do a bunch of teaching here at my studio in Nashville and now a bunch online as well. But YouTube is starting to take off thanks to you guys, so I appreciate you watching the last couple of videos. And if you're new subscribers, I'll do my best to keep the content relevant and interesting at least. I'll try to keep it brief. Today we're going to talk about something that's potentially a very big investment, and that's music school. And we're going to discuss whether going to a music college or institute or conservatory is worth it or not. So first things first, it's a gigantic investment, right? It takes time, it takes money. You could potentially financially burden yourself or your family for years. So it's an important thing that's actually kind of hard to find videos on or people talking about their experience there, whether it was worth it or not. So I'm going to try to peel back the curtain on that a little bit and give you some insight because I went to LA and did it. I went to the Musicians Institute when I was 18 years old, fresh out of high school, thrown in the middle of the crazy, LA madness and learned guitar for 2 years. I feel like I have some insight that you guys might enjoy. So here we go. So first things first, how much is it, right? How much is it going to cost you? So I'm going to be talking mostly about the Musicians Institute because that's where I went. That's what I have experience with, but I'm sure the numbers are pretty similar to Berkeley and some other conservatories around the US. But it's about $25,000 a year for your tuition. And then if you're in someplace like LA or where most of these schools are, your cost of living is really expensive as well. So add another 20 to 25 grand on there. So you're looking at $50,000 a year. Most people going to the Musicians Institute do the 2-year associates program, which is what I did, and probably the vast majority are doing that. So it's going to cost you roughly $100,000 to go and get your associate's degree. That associate's degree, obviously, if you live a little cheaper, you might be able to knock that down to $80,000 and eat ramen every day and scrape by. That associate's degree you're going to get, I can promise you this, it will not get you work outside of music education. Nobody cares you have a degree. It's literally worth nothing. That piece of paper is worth zero unless you're going to be a music teacher somewhere. But what you learn there and how much effort you put into learning the curriculum, all the material in class, utilizing all the assets of the facility there, and really picking your teacher's brain most importantly, right? Because you have access to all these amazing teachers that are just incredible musicians with tons of experience. And if you're in some place like the Musicians Institute, they have real world experience. So not just teachers that learned in a room and sit there playing all day. They play on movie scores and films and tour with huge acts and do everything that we're wanting to do when we're 18 years old, wanting to play guitar for a living. That's where you get your value, is how much effort you put into it while you're there. The degree doesn't matter and the piece of paper is essentially irrelevant. What it does is it kickstarts your ability on your instrument. It pushes you ahead of where you would have been if you hadn't gone. So say you just picked up your guitar and moved to Nashville, right? You go down and you wiggle your way into Broadway and you're slugging it out down there. You're going to learn a bunch. You're going to be a much better player after 6 months of doing that. You're going to know a ton of songs. You're probably going to have better tone, feel, pocket, all the good stuff, right? But if you go to an actual conservatory and learn what you're doing from square one and really drill those fundamentals in, you're going to have less gaps in your playing. You're going to be a more well-rounded, complete musician. One thing about that also is sight reading, right? Because do you have to sight read to make a living in Nashville? No. We literally have our own number system here to get around that, so we don't have to mess with it. But still, I've gotten called for certain opportunities because I know how to read actual notation. And I'm a horrible reader, god-awful reader. But there's just very few people here that actually do it. So I'll get called for those weird occasions where I have to play on something that might be for a TV show or some kind of film, because all that stuff's usually scored out or written. But that's a small thing. But the big one is it's going to make you more versatile because when you're in college, you're around all these players from all over the world and everybody kind of has their own feel, their own style. So you soak it all up rather than just move to one specific region and learning the style within that region. And in class, for example, we'd have to play funk, jazz, fusion, pop, country, rock, everything. So, and we were graded on it, held accountable on it. And so when you come out, you're most likely to be a more well-rounded player than if you hadn't gone in the first place. So let's take a look at the other side of the coin. Say you took that $80,000 to $100,000 that you're going to invest in music school and you decided to invest in your own personalized lesson plan, right? You could hire 3 or 4 amazing private instructors to teach you whatever you wanted to work on, or they could even put a lesson plan together for you and be what do I need to work on? And they could just lay it out. But here's how you become a better musician. And then you work on those goals over the span of a year or 2 years. And you could take that money and you could buy any online course you wanted, and you could basically study yourself and use a fraction of what it would have cost you to go to music school to do it and get a great education like that. The only problem is most people don't have the discipline to self-structure a plan for themselves like that, or even know how to do it or go about it. The school provides that structure, and most importantly, it holds them accountable. So if you go to a school, right, you're tested on it. It's here's the plan. This is going to make you a complete musician. And you have to go through these lists and go down the whole check all the boxes as you go down with all your teachers. And so you're held accountable for it. There's structure to it. And most of the people, if you're going to go the second round, just get private lessons, you're going to get better and you're going to obviously learn a lot, but it's going to be a different kind of thing. So do you need a degree to be a great player or make money in the industry? Absolutely not. The best musicians in Nashville are the guys that are playing on all the records, right? The A-list studio cats. And a large portion of them never went to school, never had a lesson in their lives. They just are hard workers and put their nose to the grindstone. I'm not going to say they're talented because that takes away from the work they put into it. They really work their tails off to like hone their craft, self-teach themselves this stuff, and learn this super refined skill set to play on records. And a lot of them never went to school for it. A lot of them did, some didn't. But it's not required is my point. However, I do honestly feel like you have a little bit more of an advantage if you have a music education when you're first trying to work your way into like the studio side of things. And the guys that don't have an education, that are the top A-listers, anything you throw at them stylistically, they're going to be able to slay it. They're the best in the world at what they do. They can just play anything. They're just that good. But I feel like I had a real advantage like early on getting all these styles kind of thrown at me when I was 18 years old that I would have never had access to. I didn't have to, slowly learn them over the span of 15 to 20 years like a lot of the guys did. I kind of got them real quick, kind of on hyperdrive. That opened up a lot of doors for me when I got to town because I would get called for sessions where it's like, hey, we got 5 songs today that are vastly different from each other. And I know I got called because I was a relatively versatile guitarist. Another thing, too, there was a mass exodus from Los Angeles to Nashville within recent years. And a lot of the producers that come over here like working a different way. And so like for guitar, for example, they like to stack the choruses out, get the choruses real big, and then kind of fill in the gaps around that with the verses and turnarounds and everything. But let the choruses determine the dynamics of the rest of the song. And so they piece it together. Where in Nashville, it's more of a left and right approach to where they do this nice, flowy, organic thing through the left, then you have a right pass, and you fill down the middle. And I learned in LA, and that's how my teachers taught me. And so when these producers came to Nashville, my workflow worked with them because I knew how to do that. And I kind of learned the Nashville way once I got here too, at least the best I could. But I know that having that background in LA and coming out of that school like really helped me get those doors open and then maintain those relationships with some of the LA people that came from here, and then also work my way to the Nashville thing a little bit too. I hope that's like makes sense. I know it's a bunch of rambling about stuff that might not make sense to some people, but I hope you guys are finding it interesting or helpful. So long story short, music school is nothing but a good thing, other than the fact that it's financially can strap you, right? You're going to come out a much better player over the span of those 2 years or 4 years than you would have maybe over 7 to 10 years of trying to learn by yourself. It's going to give you a leg up, but it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. It's super expensive. I know some people just simply can't afford it, but if you can figure out a way to do it and you really want to do this, I think it helps. And I'm not just saying that because I did it and I want to like feel good about my investment. I know that like right now I wouldn't be the player I am today if I wouldn't have went to school for it. The other thing I want to say is just because you go to music school doesn't mean you're a good player. I mean, you have to put in the time. You really have to like milk it for all it's worth, right? Utilize those teachers, utilize the facility, utilize everything they have to offer there. Really get the most bang for your buck that you can during your time there. Sometimes you just can't afford it. If it's too expensive, it's too expensive. If you're not in a place in life right now where you can just kind of wrap everything up and go to music school, but you still want to get better at guitar, maybe you're stuck in a rut and trying to break on through that next brick wall of playing, let me know. I do a bunch of teaching on Skype, FaceTime, Zoom, Google Meet, everything. You can just go to my Instagram. It's NickyV_music. Shoot me a DM on there, or you can go to my website, NashvilleTracking.com. I'll put a link down in the description. And there's a little lesson tab at the top. Just click on guitar lessons. You can click on the schedule there and book whatever hour slot you want. Appreciate you guys hanging out. I know there's a bunch of channels you could be watching. I hope you found this helpful or interesting. And please let me know in the comments if you guys have any experience with music education or anything like that. And if you guys liked it or feel like you got enough out of it, or if you think I'm totally full of crap, put that in there too. It's always colorful in the comments. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.